YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for Mighty Morphin issue 13 and the official beginning of the Eltarian War arc. And this was overall, I think, a solid issue. I think I was a little bit whelmed by it, mainly because it's like, oh my god, it's the Eltarian War! And then it was just kind of a table-setting issue. Not that it was a bad issue, and I think sort of setting the table for everything is important, but I just thought something bigger was going to happen, like, at the end. Like, during the whole issue, I kept thinking, like, yeah, this is pretty good, but I bet something really big happens at the end to get you hooked, and that never really happened. Don't pick up right where we left off. We pick up at a flashback like usual, and this time it's Zordon and Zardoz arriving at this planet that just got Order 66, where they discover, effectively, they never say it outright, but you can tell it's Zed was staying there all scarred up, and he was kind of staying with them in peace and secretly learning their magics until he betrayed them. Everybody betrayed them. They fed up with this world, and then he left one survivor to sort of tell this story. And I guess that's kind of giving some more origin to his character, and maybe a little bit of how he learned certain magics. I mean, other than the fact that Zed's obviously involved in the Eltarian War arc, I feel like that had really nothing to do with what went on in the issue, unless I'm just stupid. But, you know, it was a fine little flashback. And then we pick up where we left off after he destroyed Zordon's tube, and he's having everyone go through the command center now and, like, take anybody else out and find anything else that's needed. He's like, double your search. And Billy obviously saw the whole thing, and he's running, and he runs into Alpha, and the whole story about them is that he and Alpha Alpha finds out from Billy that Billy had a backup for Zordon. Not like a backup like he's digital, but like a backup tube that he could go to if his tube's ever destroyed. I don't know whether that was meant to be the beginnings of like the Zeo command center or if it's just a coincidence, but as they're getting ready to like activate it or whatever, Billy gets attacked and the Eltarian soldiers are there and Alpha gets kidnapped. And while that's going on, the other Rangers are fighting the forces of Eltar. The most funny part, or the best part about the issue, honestly, I think my favorite part about the issue was during this, was when Rocky was fighting one of them, and he's like, how come they always pair the sword guys together? Like, I could fight a guy with a hammer or daggers, but no, it's always, oh yeah, that's the guy with the sword, you go for it, Rocky. But they're fighting them until they escape to Grace's, and Grace is basically saying, like, oh, Zordon's gone, and we need to fight this threat, and you're gonna have to fall under my command, or you know, face what's out there and stuff like that. So they're just kind of setting that up, that they're probably going to be working with Grace for a little bit until we can get Zordon back online. And then you also have Zardoz visiting Zed and them kind of having a discussion, and it's interesting because he's like, oh yeah, this is easy, Zordon's done dead, I can take the Power Rangers out after that, and Zed's like, no, you don't understand. These are the mmpr Power Rangers. Nothing beats the 90s and the originals. Haven't you read the Facebook comments? It's actually kind of funny because it reminded me of when Diva Talks called Zed, or Zed and Rita, but Zed didn't answer because he was snoring, but Rita during the Turbo movie, and she's like, any tips on how to beat the Power Rangers? And she just laughs at her. And I like that they kind of acknowledge that even within the comic universe, that even despite when it seems like the villains are ahead, the mmpr team or the Power Rangers always seem to pull forward. So I thought that was a nice little scene, and I think it's interesting that there's not necessarily not an animosity between the two of them, but they're not like going after each other. Like Zed's not going to get in his way, and I think that's an interesting dynamic. And as this war story goes on, I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out with almost having three factions of Zed, Zardoz, and Zordon. Like, I feel like Zed doesn't have a dog in this fight, but obviously since he's getting all this origin stuff, he's going to be involved, so I'm really interested to see about that. But effectively, the issue just ends with, after Grace saying, you know, face what's out there if you don't want to work with me, of them showing the Eltarian force outside of the Promethea. And like I said, it was just a table-setting issue. It was a good issue. You know, I like the stuff they did with Billy and the backup for Zordon. I think that'll go a long way to getting him back in his good graces. Speaking of graces, I like the idea of Zordon being out of commission at least for a couple issues and the other Rangers having to work with Grace. I think that'll bring in a couple interesting different dynamics, both with having to work with Matt and having to work with her approach, and maybe them both seeing and understanding each other, as well as some conflict. Like I said, the stuff with Zed and Zardoz is interesting. And it was overall a solid issue. I was expecting a little bit more of a punch for the beginning of the Eltarian War, but it makes sense. But I would give this one a 3 out of 5. Solid, enjoyable, table-setting issue, but I was expecting a little bit more, but I'm still looking forward to this arc. They also did mention contacting the Omegas, and obviously the Omegas are in dire straits right now, so I'm also pretty eager to find out how these two stories are going to intersect and see if these two meet again, and if the issues become a thing where you have to read both series or not. I'm curious, is there anybody that's only reading one of them? I know the stories have been kind of separate, but they're also so connected that once they get to this part where they're inevitably going to meet, it's going to be hard to sort of keep up with that. But yeah, what do you guys think of the issue? Are you reading both comics right now, Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin? Let me know in the comments. As always, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Awesome Writer, signing out.